Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
And you're listening to Live from the Path, coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. COVID clean for 14 days.
Hey, man, I checked everybody's temperature on the way in.
Right. That's not true. You didn't touch me.
I did a mental scan. Like the Night of the Sentinels.
Obscure sci-fi reference.
Did you grow up as a little boy in the 90s? Because then you'll get that.
Yeah, okay. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us so far. So we did hear on, we asked on the social media whether you wanted more or less bacon.
It was 100% one way.
100% less bacon.
Yeah, 100%
That's
less
not
talk
right.
about bacon.
Yeah, but Boo, was that a surprise to you?
I mean, a little, kind of not, because of the content that people can expect from us, which is nothing. And then out of nowhere, we kind of come in slamming with 2 bacon posts.
Oh, you think it's too much? People can't take it.
No, I think they saw it coming. I think they saw it was a cheesy social media grab. And they thought, you know what? I'm not getting involved in this.
Yeah.
This is cheap living.
Yeah, it's false.
Was the person wearing a burqa?
Yeah,
Less bacon?
less bacon.
I don't know.
You know what my daughter said to me? She was
Bacon?
She was picking up her peas with her hand, right? I'm like, what are you acting like a caveman? And she goes, Dad, the hand is the fork of the arm.
Oh, that's great.
I just
That
can't
is
argue
deep.
with that.
That's a t-shirt.
That is deep.
That's fairly solid reasoning.
Confucius say the hand is
Go
the
ahead.
fork of the arm. This is the fork that the Lord gave
Here's the
me.
deal. I did not think that it would be so soon in their life that they have bested me, but they have bested me. I am speechless. I had nothing to say.
I mean, you did sharpen the stick, so
Yeah.
it's kind of not surprising.
Yeah, the hand is the fork of the arm, Dad. Well, eat away then. I guess you're good.
You win this round. Apparently, we don't use utensils here as a family anymore.
Yeah.
All right, well, fine. Well, I will figure out more ways to post some stuff that isn't bacon.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done a little bit of other stuff. Like we've gotten like 10 posts on
no,
there.
actually, so I was listening back. I was listening back on not last week, but the week before, and I mean, there were 50 quotes from that one.
Yeah.
Hey, you remember I was talking about that I invested in marijuana?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do remember that.
Hey, that stock is up 80%.
No kidding.
Now,
Yes, indeed.
You asked me. You said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "Because during the COVID, people will hoard it, and people will take to it, because they either don't know what to do with themselves or they're getting wigged out." That's exactly what happened.
So it's going to pan out? You're going to buy it at the cheap price and make instant money?
That's what I did.
Oh, it's done.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah,
did you already sell?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was afraid it was going to take a dive, but however, the economy as a whole went up Monday, and so all boats rose. Had a good day. Had
Cool.
a good day, boys.
I tell you what, I listened back to that conversation we had about corporate America probably 15 times this week.
Of course you did.
Probably the favorite thing we've ever done in 10 years. Yeah. I was very excited about it.
Really? Interesting. You were really excited about it, and it was you arguing the entire time.
It was mostly me rocking it. That's the thing.
I
I
was
think it
waiting
really
for that to
highlighted my
come
strong
out.
suit
This stuff is gold.
of raging against the machine of corporate America.
Raging against the machine.
Yeah.
Mike's
Or-
on parade.
Or that's Boova's nickname, the machine. He's basically part of the hierarchy.
I'm the machine?
Yeah. All you want to do is kick out paper and rules. That's basically you.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, kind of. I can't deny that statement.
Okay, so here's the question, because I saw this come up in a number of articles this week, and it has to do with the lasting effects of the kind of the shutdown stuff, and so and specifically as it relates to people's mental state, feelings of, and maybe this ties to that marijuana thing, but like feelings of anxiousness, feelings of depression, maybe worry. And so I'm trying to figure out how to normalize what I'm reading. And so I'm going to ask whether, fellas, any of this feels familiar to you. Not because, regardless of the answer, saying it's good or better or worse, whether it does or it doesn't. But I just to normalize it, because like I saw a lot of articles this week, and like I haven't really run into anybody that seems to be having this. So maybe my question is to you: is any of this hitting you in that way, or people, anybody around you, and like what has been the like in what way, and like how has it impacted you spiritually?
You're asking how the quarantine has affected.
Yeah, do you feel like it's hit you in any way?
No.
You say you feel like the same.
Yeah.
Samesies.
Yeah. Well, I see. All I can say is half positive things, and so it makes me feel guilty because I know it does not hit everybody that way. It slowed the pace of life down a little bit, and I'm not so sure that wasn't something that needed to happen anyway. Like, I think people are longing to go back to something that was crappy. You know what I'm saying? They're like, I want to go back to like this fast-paced, uber-busy lifestyle where I didn't have time to be with my kids or talk to my wife or 1,000 different things going on, and like all these things that they were phony, right? They weren't true. They helped to make people feel like they were important and great, but like I'm telling you what, Ecclesiastes, the preacher teacher says, here's all the things that humanity will point to and say, this is what will make life great. And he stands at the end of his days and goes, it's all smoke, man. None of it was actually true. And I think that some of the quarantine stuff has been a little bit of an equalizer for me that like proves some of that out. All the stuff that you thought you were involved in and was important and you had to do, and not to say that like some of our community-based stuff where we get together just as people, enjoy good food and good people and good drink and the job you've been given to do. And that's the simple, straightforward. Missing out on those things is not what God designed. Right? He designed those things to be good and to be helpful to us, right? But like some of the other crap, it can certainly go. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of folks that are feeling anxious about getting back to something that wasn't good for them in the first place. You know what I'm saying? That actually wasn't doing a net positive to them overall. So, and not to say there's not cases where people have been forced to be quarantined and not see their friends, not see their family. I'm not saying any of that stuff's any good. But like if you can look at more the holistic thing or us as a society thing and say individuals are going to take this hard, but as a society, I don't know that we couldn't have used to slow down a little bit, not find ourselves so important and go, hey, maybe we can just ease a little bit. Try instead of having two hands full of toil, maybe just one hand full of quietness, you know?
So I guess impact number one for Mike, for you is we may have learned to stop double fist and toil.
I did. We'll put it that way. Okay. I can't speak for everybody or whether it's good or bad or indifferent, but I know that like I'm generally a two hands full of toil guy, and I think that's a mistake. And so and maybe I've been trying to look at things a little bit differently to make sure that I don't end up, as soon as this thing starts curving out or whatever it's going to do, that I don't end up with two hands full of toil again, because I don't think that's right living.
Yeah. I don't know, Dan?
Yeah, I think I have been mostly like disappointed in how this has become so stinking political with people. Like on whatever issue it is, like they've drawn the line: mask, no mask, stay home, don't stay home, work, you know, and people are like angry at each other just in social media, which has been the case anyway, you know, with things. But it's like really, even in this, you know, we've allowed it to divide us politically. It should have nothing to do with politics. You know, can't we just as Americans say, hey, we're trying to figure this out? And I suppose that's where the politics comes, is what do you do about it? But that's been disappointing to me.
Don't you feel like what they've asked of us? I feel like we're doing better than I thought we would. Right? I thought there would be a solid upstart rebellion of people that are like, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna go in the hobby store without my mask, and you're not gonna stop me. Right? Like I thought there would be. I think people, for what was asked of them, I think they tried, and I think they gave it an effort. Now some are gonna say that wasn't enough. And some are going to say they're selfish anyway, but like, to be honest, I just expected 20 to 30% of the population to be pistols and be like, you don't tell me what to do.
They are in some areas. So we live in a pretty open state compared to like the rest of the country.
Yeah,
sure.
A lot of my friends are in Kentucky and Ohio and out in that area where they're just like Michigan, and you know, they're having protests and stuff out there, and it's becoming a big clash of will between people. Then that's just disappointing to me. I guess I don't know if that's answering your question. I can't remember what the original question was, but it didn't affect me a whole lot. I went to Home Depot like every other day because we were doing a big 3 or 4 projects, you know, here at the church and at home.
Do you think that, because I was reading an article earlier this week, actually, to your point, Dan, that like I can only see how this is affecting me from my social class.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So like there are portions of America that obviously are lower income bracket have a certain amount of discrimination against them anyway, and like things that I'm not taking in, right? And so I don't know that I can take that in wholly anyway from sources.
You do tattoos.
Right.
You're not important.
Right.
We're closing you down.
Correct.
I got to feed my family.
Correct. And so I know people that do tattoos and hair and I get it, and they're all and struggles. I know low income wage workers that work convenience stores, and they're getting their hours cut and like all this stuff. And so if we're gonna talk about it straight, let's just make the point that like what I think Dan and I are saying is like the question was asked, how did it affect us? And we're talking from our social class,
my little circle, my
and
little
our
world.
Perspective. That is not a sweeping, hey man, I'm glad these guys are out of work, or you know what I'm saying? I'm glad they're suffering or whatever. That's not what we're saying. I think we're just saying like from our seat in this life of socio or economic standing, this is what it's like for us, right? Not to say that there's not broad sweeping things that are causing people a horrible depression and headache and anxiety about money and what they're going to do, and like I totally get that, but like and this goes to your point about the social media thing, right? Like I answer this simple question, and all of a sudden, like it can be easily painted that I just care nothing for how it's affecting other people, and like that is not the case at all,
right?
But I think social media is really lacking the ability for people to breathe.
Yeah.
Right? And to say, here's how it affects me, as long as you're asking, that doesn't mean it's true for everybody, or that I don't care about how it affects everybody else. But like, I can honestly only talk from my perspective. That's the only one with that I can talk with and be real, and so like, I can fight for the plight of people that I think are probably taking, the brunt of the way that this shutdown is working. And I think there is a good chunk of our blue collar, everyday, working 10 hours a day workers that can't go to work and they can't feed their family, and it's driving them nuts.
Yeah.
And like, there's no way I can't see that is a terrible thing to happen to them. I just can't speak to it because I'm not them. Mm-hmm. Right. And so like, if I'm going to frame this just real quick before Dan and I turn into jerks in front of everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's only fair.
Well, but that's the things, I suppose. One of the things that that conversations lack is the grace of context. Right. So like, and I don't know, I'm not sure what the motivation is for it, to be honest. Like, if you give people, if you start with some basic assumptions that this person is not, like, is speaking from their own perspective, as opposed to claiming to have all perspectives, because like that's really what it is. A lot of times people will react to something that somebody says as if it is intended to represent all wisdom. Like, I'm limited to my own perspective. I cannot live in your body. I don't get to see with your eyes. And so I think the only way we mutually benefit from each other's perspectives is to be able to share them and then sort them out and
have
say
an adult conversation.
That's right. It might take. Actually, there's a friend of mine who talking about this earlier today. Is that like one of the hardest things I think in this particular situation is trying to recognize how do you deal with real fear that is real, even if the thing that is driving the fear may not be relatively may not warrant the amount of fear that exists. You understand what I'm saying? So like it's like I'm going to give a crude example, or like a one that doesn't quite represent the situation, then we'll go from there. But it's like someone saying, look, I'm like, who's scared to death that a car is going to spin off their cul-de-sac and run into their house. Mm-hmm. And they're just freaked out about it all the time, and they're legit scared that it's going to happen. Now the chances of it happening are super low.
But they read an article in Michigan, it happened once.
Yeah, and they see the car come by, and they're legit afraid. Now you can recognize that the fear is real, and
not completely unfounded, but just ballooned.
Yeah, right. It's. I don't want to use the word exaggerated because, like, again, I think you can pull that off wrong. But like, the question is like, when we look at the situation we have, we simply don't have enough information, and like, even information can be misleading, right? Like, you go to 3 prime sources reporting different things, and it's not the same. And it's not because humans aren't trying, and frankly, I don't think in general that it's people trying to manipulate. I think it's just we have a big thing, and we're trying to collect a lot of data, and people are trying to make decisions off it, and people like to have their narratives affirmed. And so, like, if you think this thing was going to be the end of the world, you're going to grapple on to the numbers that otherwise lead you to believe that, and the graphs that represent it. If you think this thing was a nothing burger and that everyone's overreacted, then you're gonna land and grab onto data that otherwise validates that. And that's the problem. Is like, although I really do think you have to rely on data, the chance that you actually have a complete set of data and unbiased eyes looking and reporting on it is super low. And so what's a fallible human supposed to do? What are we supposed to do?
Right. And so that's the thing, is like almost everybody who is not themselves assumes everybody else is a jerk, right? That they're trying to spin it one way. And like, I'm guessing maybe that there's just almost everybody I've talked to anyway, out and about in the lands, have said, I don't know what to make of this thing. Like, I'm doing my best. I have an inkling that I think it's this or I think it's that, but like, honestly, man, I just have no idea. I don't know how to process any of this. I don't know how to do what's best for people who need something, and I don't know how to get this other group of people that if we do what's best for these people, if we do what's best for the immunocompromised people, it puts everybody out of work. So now what do we do? Like, and it's trying to set the struggle of society within one man or one individual and saying, pick a side now or you're terrible or you're just terrible. And like, it's hard to do, right? If you actually care about people, which I think on the whole most people probably do, nobody wants to see other people get sick. I don't want to be responsible for that. I don't want to contribute to it. I want everybody to be well, but I don't want people to be out of job and not be able to feed their kids. That feels bad too. And then everyone's like, pick a side, pick a side, pick a side. Otherwise, I hate you. Okay, right. I don't know what to do. I don't want to be hated. That's somewhere in the middle. I just don't know what to do. And so, and I think that will irritate both sides who really want you to pick a side and say it's all this. And like, once again, to be 100% honest, I'm not sure 100% what it is. I know the things I don't want to be a part of. I want to be part of good things. Right. And so like, if there's a sweeping thing that shuts down governments and restaurants, I'll find a way to buy stuff from restaurants, even if I probably shouldn't, because I'm lucky enough to still be working. And so I'll figure something out. And if I can't see my immunocompromised friend for a couple 3 weeks more, because that's what's right, then that's what's right. And we'll do that too. All things are up as an option to me. But I find it hard that like I can't barely even get through my social media stuff without feeling like I'm being shamed for some reason because I haven't picked one of the big 2 chess pieces on the board,
Yeah, I think that's the thing is we're even to the point where, and I think Dan, this gets to your that what you were saying is that like you can't even ask a viable question anymore, right? Like how would you like? There's a premise that like how could you ever doubt that this thing was orchestrated by a shadow government who's looking to kill you, your children, and your dog? Or how could you possibly doubt that this thing is going to destroy absolutely everybody, and that you need to lock yourselves in your basements? You don't even. People have it's just such a wild thing, the things that people have confidence in. The one thing we know that we have confidence in is the least tangible thing in this world. I cannot grab a hold of the robe of Jesus Christ right now, but I am the most confident in that. The thing that everyone else is grabbing onto that they're super confident in is data they don't own, is looking out your window and guessing how the rest of the world is. Everybody, I swear, like there's it's a very small part of my social media population, but the people who are like I don't go anywhere and this thing is just going to go away, which has never been true about any disease ever, are the same people who have actually at least faithfully done that, except for they don't recognize that like to Mike's thing, like the places were packed. Menards are packed. The only time I saw Menards is the crowds in Menards go down is when they went to Lowe's because they didn't want to wear the mask that Menards required. Right. And I've been walking into Menards 3 different times and had people turn around and leave and said, look, I'm going to Lowe's. Right, and whatever. Menards gets to do what they want. They're a private company. I don't care.
Right.
And people can go to Lowe's if they want to. But like this like when you put yourself in the mindset of a doomsday, that's what it will look like to you because you actually didn't go out anywhere, right? And you're getting news that, like, again, you're not getting a fair shake from the media. But I will tell you this is like some of that's on you because as a culture, as a people, we want 30-second sound bites. Give me the news. Give me 30 seconds of news so that I know what's going on. I'm like, you can't tell this story in 30 seconds. Don't care. Hurry it up.
This is a 6-hour story.
That's right.
This is a comb through kind of operation.
Yeah, you stopped reading magazine subscriptions. Okay, you stopped watching 60 Minutes. You stopped listening to Dan Rather for extended news segments. What you wanted was, give me the hits, play the hits, text it to me, tell me when it happened. And you're like, the media's misleading me. Whatever. I'm sure there's some there's media folks that have bias. They're humans. But I will tell you this, is that it's time. Time is the limiter of context. right? And so what are they going to go for? What happened? Who died? Who reacted? Probably going to ask the president. You're going to hate or not hate what he said. Great.
Even on social media, it seems like a lot of people don't even actually read the articles they're sharing. They just like the headline.
Yeah, look at this.
Like, I don't have time to read the article,
It's
but look at
pretty
this
easy
headline.
to write the word "this" and an exclamation point and go, "This, this is the thing."
Yeah.
I didn't actually read it, to be honest with you, but it seemed like it was pretty in my corner.
So like, so that's the thing is that like it's just so odd. I don't ever write anything on social media with an exclamation point that has anything to do with anything outside my family. That's the thing.
There you
so
go.
There's a start number one. But like for all the complaints you have about the world around you, just recognize that you are a contributor. You are not innocent of this. I actually don't take my news in that way. I don't allow news to be texted to me. I don't tend to I don't have any opinion on something unless I've read the full article. And I might scan headlines, but like I don't form an opinion until I've read something. And like even then, I know I got a short form. Somebody online at the editor's desk goes, "Look, too long." Mm-hmm. They're not telling me a whole story, and they can't reasonably tell you everything. I get that too. I read 3 articles on the same topic, probably the most liberal side I can find, the most conservative side I can find, and something that seems like it might sniff in the middle, and then I try to sort it out. I'm sorry that the world doesn't come to you on a silver platter where truth is readily available, but it's dodgy.
And here's the thing: it never has. There's no history books that says that's promised to you.
Right.
The Lord God had written a book of how his humanity is going to work and the way his creation is going to go down. Not once did he say it's going to be honest all the time. You're never going to get bamboozled by anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was pretty straightforward that the way this life is set out, like you're expecting something that's never going to happen.
Right. We look out at the news sources of a fallen world and go, where's the truth?
Where's the integrity? Where's the integrity? Tell me more about the smoke.
So the hardest thing, and this is true in our current culture, this has been this way for 10 years, maybe longer, is that like we're talking about conversations that we can't even have. Not just what do I believe, but conversations that you're not even allowed to have. Do I think it's totally acceptable for someone to go, look, something doesn't seem like it's adding up here. Okay, why do you think that? Certainly there's questions where someone can answer, and if they can answer them, great. Hey, this adds up. Like the same. Yeah, sorry, I'll spend too much time on that. But like the point is to say is that like there is pressure. There is pressure to give in to false narratives. There's pressure to give in to shallow narratives. There's a pressure to make up your mind on something that is not of kingdom consequence that people will want to tag you with. And I'm asking you to resist the pressure.
Yeah, stop it.
There is nothing to gain but the appreciation of a fickle 1/3 of the world on either side of that equation.
Yeah.
And like, now here's the deal. They might be upset with you for not taking a side. Fickle 1/3 of the world, or now 2/3 of the world, because you didn't pick either one. You're okay with that. We're on the side of the kingdom stuff. There's things I know for certain. There's things I'm going to hold very loosely in my left hand as a human, and know that every other human doesn't know it either. And so, like, if you can't live in that paradigm, I'm going to beg you to shut off the TV for a while, only read scripture for 30 days for at least 2 hours a day, and then now you refocus your life and say, what do I actually care to take in here, and who am I letting feed my head with how I need to make decisions in my life? Because if you can't stand up to that worldly pressure to fire a gun that you don't know anything about, then you've got to shut it off. You got to take yourself out of it completely. Now, I'm not sure that's making me anxious, because I think that's always been true. I think this is this is just a different arrow.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But like, so I think here's the thing though: is if I look in the room, Buva, let's finish it out. Related to COVID, how you feeling?
Oh man, this is gonna be rough.
Has that not done your hygiene any favors?
Apparently not. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
But you're looking fine.
Thanks, Dan.
That's exactly the opposite of what I was getting at.
It's a super confusing.
His eyebrows are out of control.
Juxtaposition of
I'm
feelings.
the third that says you're looking fine.
I mean, I just gotta smell bad and I look fine in the same.
Okay, I'll fix this, Buva. Here's what they're
Give
trying
me
to
some
get
neutral.
at. Here's what they're trying to get at. If you were at a Renaissance fair
Yes.
and they were casting the role of Little John,
And you had a turkey leg.
Yes.
no,
Oh.
they were casting the role of Little John.
I follow.
That would be you.
Interesting. Okay. Thank
Now,
you.
I find that to be a neutral comment. You can take that how you wish.
Yeah.
That is a fairly specific and neutral comment. You're correct.
There you go.
So, man, it's been rough. It's actually been super rough on me. In comparison to the two of you guys that are just sitting over there.
Yeah,
feeling good.
living it up, water slide style.
Living it up, water slide style. So I've had to stay away from a lot of my support network because of this, which kind of sucks because I rely on that a lot actually, for just daily stuff that I battle. My brain doesn't really do good in places of high anxiety or high stimulus of craziness, and that's kind of been the exact climate that we're living in for the last 2 months now. I've had to really focus on my relationship with Christ more than ever in the last couple of months, because I recognized like the stimulus that I was taking in was social media, was news outlets, was what other people were saying, was, announcements from governors and presidents and all kinds of stuff, and then things that I would hear that would kind of trickle in internationally from my friends kind of all over the world. And so it was just crazy to have this constant flow of content that was alarming. And I've heard a lot of people stating that this is a worldwide traumatic event. Has been some of the verbiage that I've seen used, a worldwide traumatic event. And I partially agree with that to an extent. That doesn't mean that everyone is experiencing trauma from it, and it doesn't mean that everyone's in a bad place because of it, but it's a stimulus that all of us are feeling, whether good or bad, that has the potential to manifest as trauma eventually, right? And so that's been hitting me hard. And as someone who's had traumatic events in his life over and over again, it's just been something that when that high alarm hits me, all that does for my brain is put me back into a state where I'm in, inflamed mode, if you will. My brain is kind of like trapping itself, right? And so, that's the reality of where I'm at. Is it's constant barrage of alarming content.
So and so in general, it's happening not only because of kind of the uncertainty of the news, the impact, either empathetic impact on people around you.
Right.
Your job was impacted.
Yep.
And you also have isolation related to, you just can't be around because of health issues.
Exactly.
You can't be around them. And then in whatever you've got, then there's just things that you're working on anyway.
Yeah, like I was supposed to have seen my fiance by now, and we had to cancel that because of this stuff. So it's been months since I've seen her, when I had plans to see her a month and a half ago. And I haven't been able to see my family because there is a lot of immunocompromisation in that family. And so I've been quarantined from them. Specifically, I can't go to their house. So like I wasn't able to see my mom on Mother's Day, other than like I stood at her gate while they were all on the walkway, 10 feet away from me. And it was, I liked the fact that I was able to go and say hi, and but it broke my heart because like I'm a physical guy. I like hugs. I like physical affection. That's kind of what I do. And this is going to be my last Mother's Day in town for quite a while. And so I was worried about missing out that opportunity, right? Like it's small things like that just kind of keep going over and over again. Now, what I can tell you, though, is this has been one of the best times for me to reaffirm what my identity is and who I am in Christ. And that's what I meant by changing the content that I was, focusing on. I'm listening to podcasts more than I ever have, staying away from as much TV as I can, and reading my Bible every single day for almost a month now. That's the longest period of time that I've gone without missing a single day of jumping into the Word, and it's been phenomenal. Prayer every single day, multiple times a day. It's been crazy. And so I had to react in that way, or I feel like I would have fallen fairly far into some bad stuff, because I've had to keep fighting daily of just like, no, I can't. I need to go to where I know my rock is, and my rock is Yahweh, and I recognize that, and I've had to stand on that. That's been my level ground, and so it's been crazy from a mental trauma place, but it's been constantly battled with my strength through God and my relationship with Him, and so it's been nuts. And so there's a lot of people around me that have been feeling this kind of stuff too, and I've been able to be a witness to people that are close to me in random ways that I've never been able to, because they all know my story. They know who I am, and they go, "Why are you calm? Like, I don't understand why you're okay." for the general part. Like, I still have my times of like, oh no, the world's on fire. But like every once in a while, I read a psalm and then my brain calms down, right? And I've been able to look at them and just be like, hey, here's the deal. You know, the world is chaos. It is absolute chaos, whether that is from a virus, whether that is from global panic, whether that is from media-driven fear-mongering, whether that's from government-led fear-mongering. The world is chaos. God isn't. He's 100% peace and joy and love. That does not change. He has not moved. He's not fearful of any of this. His identity wasn't threatened by a virus, and it wasn't threatened by a pandemic. He has stood eternal and completely in charge. His sovereignty has not been threatened in any way, shape, or form. And so I have a rock that I can stand on that cannot be shaken and cannot be moved. And so it's been an amazing experience for me to be able to stand on that. And when everyone else is in turbulent water, they could look at me and go, where's that coming from? And it gives me an opportunity to tell them, dude, it's Jesus. It is Jesus as my king and as my God and as the one who came to earth and was killed for my sin that I can stand upon and be held by, and I don't have to worry. He's Alpha and Omega. He's beginning and end. He is immovable. He is unshakable. He is completely sovereign and reigns supreme. And that's been something that has been crazy to be reaffirmed over and over and over again in the last couple of months. And it's been such an awesome experience for my relationship with him, because it's been a trusting moment for me to where, you know, it's one thing to trust God with small stuff. It's another to trust him with, Lord, I don't know if I can get out of bed today. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can stand up today. I don't know if I can talk to people today because I'm so scared. I don't know how to move, but I'll move because you allow me to and give me the strength to do so.
I had an epiphany like 2 weeks ago, which in Scripture, which it's kind of embarrassing. I don't have them very often anymore because, you know, you've read it so many times.
Right.
Like, yeah, I know this story. And I don't even know why I was reading Ezekiel. But I went to Ezekiel, and mostly because I blew up my sermon calendar, and I thought I need something. Randomly picked Ezekiel.
Right.
And so I'm just doing the study, the background study. It's been a while since I've studied what was going on, the context, and I'm looking at this guy who is taken out from Babylon in the first captivity. You know, he's with people like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Ezekiel. Ezekiel's probably about 25-ish when they invade. And he's in the priestly family, right? So his whole entire life, he's planning to be a priest. I mean, he just knows it. He's from a boy. Someday he's going to be a priest. Who knows? Maybe he'll be the big priest. You know, I mean, you know, all that stuff that goes through your mind as a boy growing up. But I want to be a priest. But now he's taken into Babylon. And in Ezekiel chapter 1, some believe it could be his birthday, or at least he's 30. He's 30 years old, which is the year you officially become a priest, right? So he spent his whole life waiting to be a priest. It's now he's 30. He's sitting on the bank of like a irrigation channel, and he's just like, who knows? Maybe he's contemplating like, crap. I mean, look at my life. It just blew up. I can't be a priest. I'm not in Jerusalem anymore.
Right.
You know, I mean, we're in captive. I'll probably never see Jerusalem again. Everything's horrible. Life is terrible. The world's crashing. And then he sees the big vision of Ezekiel 1, you know, with the creatures and the throne and you know, this just fantastic picture of God and brilliance and lightning and all this stuff. And it takes him to his knees. And the epiphany I had was somewhere in there. It hit me that the big revelation, I think, to Ezekiel at that moment was, wait, holy crap, this can't be happening because this isn't Jerusalem. God lives in the temple. What's he doing in Babylon? You know? And like it changed his life. Like, no, I can be in Babylon and serve the living God of the universe. He's alive and he's right in front of me and he's addressing me. And that was just like this big moment of life gets ups and downs and crazy and all kinds of, you know, God moves in this stuff and he's alive and he's active when you least expect it. And even in a pandemic, when we're laying around going, you know, this isn't what I expected. You know, I want to see my fiance. I want to, you know, my business is crashing. Things are terrible. God's still in the middle of it. And he's very much alive. We may or may not see him, but he's there, and riding that same crazy chariot God thing that he is on, and he's still alive. And I don't know. That was just so cool for me to like. It just kind of like this light bulb came on. It's like we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
We're not doing church in a building right now because we're all in homes on the internet. God can't move there. He's like, oh yeah. I mean,
Yep.
Life as I know is so much different right now. He's like, I got it.
Right.
I'm good. I'm still on the throne. You want to see my throne? Hang up by the channel there, buddy. I'm coming.
It's interesting because that's kind of the same thing that we were talking about last week in Revelation was, that's the concept there. This is a book of Revelation from God to his people saying, even though everything is crazy right now, you've lost your leaders. Jesus has ascended 60 years prior or whatever, right? Like, these people are being persecuted all around you. The followers of the way are being persecuted through every institution that they are a part of. And you feel like you're losing your faith, and I can't be here anymore because the fact that, like, all the leaders that went into developing these churches in Asia Minor are dying. They're all being murdered or all kinds of stuff, right? And you've got this revelation that's like, no. I'm still here. I never left. I'm not out of power.
The conqueror.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like realize that I won't lose. This will end with me victorious. And if you are on my side, you are victorious as well. You call yourself one of my children and work within my kingdom, and you call me your king and your God, and you fly my flag daily, and you take on my identity and your identity and who you are because of who I called you to be. You are victorious through these circumstances. It doesn't matter who's being killed. It doesn't matter who's dying. It doesn't matter if you don't see me or you see the effects of all kinds of things persecuting and coming down on what you think I've created. It's not at risk, and nor are you. Hold fast in who I am and who you are because of what I tell you, and realize that I'm Yahweh, I'm King, I will not move, and I will not fail. I'm undefeated, and so are you.
I think we struggle with, because we always say, King Jesus, right? And like our modern thought process of a king is sovereign over a land, right? And so, if you don't pay attention, you'll miss it. That like God is always on his throne, and like half your brain will go, well, then he can't be anywhere else. King Yahweh, wherever he goes, the throne goes with him. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's almost ridiculous to think that there's a permanent
got
throne
wheels.
attached to his butt. Or whatever. Yeah,
It's a flying carpet thing.
Like as Yahweh goes, so goes the kingdom. He goes. It goes wherever he goes. And so, like the thought that God is always on his throne lends itself to think that God doesn't move, and like that's the exact opposite what happens.
Right.
Everywhere God goes, the throne goes too.
Yeah.
Everywhere Yahweh goes is where the kingdom is.
Yeah.
And so like we miss that a little bit. I think I lose thought of that. Like as soon as I think of King Yahweh, I think he sits on his throne and it's big and it's huge.
Way out there.
And people come to him, and then that's it. But like it's a shallow thought, because like if Yahweh decides to get up out of the glass throne room and go walking in Spain, the throne goes. The angels go with him. Everything goes with him. It goes with him wherever he goes, right? And so like he can't escape it. And he and it's always omniscient and following him, and it's a permanent of whatever he is and wherever he's at. And he's all places.
And I think you should, when you see the word heaven about half the time in Scripture, I think you should think of it that same way, actually.
Yeah.
Like it's where God resides, and it goes where he goes.
It's God's space.
So when heaven becomes, when heaven and earth are the same, it's because God's space has become our space. Like we are in the same space.
Yeah, your kingdom come is a movement.
Yeah. Ezekiel says, I've seen the glory of the Lord, the presence of the glory of the Lord. And that Hebrew word, it means a weight. It's a heaviness to it. It's it was a felt thing. It wasn't that's cool. I mean, they'll talk about UFOs someday. It was like there was a weight to it.
That's right.
The same weight that's described over the covenant, Ark of the Covenant.
Yep.
On Mount Zion?
Horeb.
Where's the Ten Commandments?
I just threw him out
I just
there.
went blank.
Sinai.
Sinai. There we go.
I was going to say, it's
This is
Sinai.
not- it's like an easy one. It's
It could be Horeb.
freshman class. Anyway,
We're yelling at all the others' mounts. Horeb,
Rushmore.
Zion.
It's like, anyway, I mean, it's the same idea. That his weight is there, and he's here. He's here right
Right.
now in this room. He's here.
Yep.
We don't always feel that weight, but it's there. And Yeah, we get
but,
lost
you
on
know,
little things.
Here's the thing: is all right. Put this in the butt of a guy who's largely not impacted by this. Like this is the time generally where you tell guys like me to shut up. You don't know. So Booba, you tell me whether this hits on Ben shut up type of territory. But like one of the things that I think runs in for situations like this is that the stuff we are anxious of tend to be the wrong markers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth of it, right? Like no one wants to feel like their income is at risk. No one wants to feel like they don't have control of their own full destiny. We would much prefer to not believe that there will be a circumstance that we're not prepared for down the pipe.
America.
I get it. And foundationally, like that's a lot of what our country is built upon. Like, can I control enough of my stuff that I can keep danger at bay? Right. And so, but like, what's at risk, and the things that we get anxious of are the wrong things. And like, I'm not sure there's not a goodness to a purification of the things that we're actually worried about. So like if we take what we're saying and say, look, I know my breath is not guaranteed, my money is not guaranteed, my job is not guaranteed, that people like me, that the world, things that are way out of my control like tornadoes and floods and viruses, whatever, that are beyond me could otherwise come for me and my family. I can't control any of that stuff. And I'm worried about it, but like my worry didn't add an ounce to it. But it also didn't take God off the throne. He was still good. He is still faithful. I am still faithful to him. And so the other markers, although relevant to your human experience, and frankly things of which other humans, especially ones who aren't impacted by the experience the same way, have very much the opportunity to step in, which I think, as far as I know, the fellows in this room have recognized that we're not impacted and haven't been impacted the same way that other people that are close to us have. But like, I think refinement is okay.
So do you? I mean, think about it this way: like, some of the things, like especially when it comes to anxiety, anxiety is generally a thought process where you feel nervous about things that you can't control, right? Or what do we always talk about? Where like, things wouldn't be disappointing to you if you hadn't already assumed that they were going to go the opposite way.
Right, you had an expectation.
Right, you had an expectation. Yeah. Right, and so like, it's almost a two-pronged attack because like if you hit this with too big of a bat, you miss the nuance here. But like some of the things like anxiety and depression and stuff, some of them are chemical imbalances. They're a brain issue. They're a body functioning issue, and they certainly need guidance and addressment in that area. Some of that, you can retrain your brain to look at life how God designed it to be, right? If you didn't expect that you were going to have a pillow in your bed, you wouldn't be mad when there was not one. You would not think it to be the worst thing ever. If you didn't I am owed this pillow, I am owed a 70-degree house, I am owed a car that runs, I am owed a shirt that fits. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, I don't know that the Bible's not written to give you the perspective that we currently have, that you are owed all these things.
Right.
God speaks to all this stuff, right? The truths of what is guaranteed to you, and what is guaranteed to you is grace and love and acceptance in the kingdom through no merit of your own. That is what's guaranteed to you. Everything else is an expectation that you're setting up. And so like sometimes it's very hard to meet people that have legit brain chemical issues and not shove them in with people who have ridiculous expectations of things that they're not promised, right? And you could literally flush your entire life down the toilet being disappointed in the things that you thought you were owed, right? And you missed out on complete joy if you would let go of some of those things that you're owed, that you believe to be owed.
I was going to give you just an example that popped in my head, and this is so shallow and dumb, I'm embarrassed to say it out loud, but today, so I work from home, and so I went out at like 11 o'clock. I'd been on meetings all morning, and I thought, I'm going to go make me like a thing of coffee. I got a French press. I make one coffee cup at a time. So I go out there, and like the dishes are, the sink is full of dishes, and I can't rinse the French press thing out to make more coffee.
Yeah.
And I was incensed. Embarrassingly so.
What's wrong with these people?
I walked out and I looked at it and I go, I can't make my coffee because I can't rinse this out because the stupid sink is full of dishes. And like immediately I thought to myself, this is dumb. Like my wife, we're doing school. We always do school. Kids school all the time, and so they're busy. And so I thought to myself, I'm gonna wash these dishes so that it'll clean the sink out. It'll get the dishes in the dishwasher. Great. And so I recognized it was dumb, and I changed my attitude, and I started to do it. And then I was making a lot of noise, and my wife goes, "Hey, we're trying to watch a video for school." Trying to watch a video for school. You're making a lot of noise in there. And my goodwill went out the window. I acted like a gorilla. I go, sorry, I know you wish to watch your video. I wish I was doing my work like I was supposed to, but I'm having to put these dishes away. And I knew it right in my brain's going, why? Why are you doing this?
Shut up, Ben.
Yeah, you should shut your stupid mouth. But what it made me think of is when you're saying, like, it was a ridiculous expectation that, like, oh, I am owed to be able to make my coffee
A quick
however
rinse
I
on the French press.
Yeah, there should be an open space in the sink because it presumes that someone else has otherwise paved the way and made it for me. And like, it seems so shallow, but even at a macro level and even on important things, guys, that is actually what we do. We go, this thing should be for me. I expect them to forgive all student loans because it would benefit me. Forget the fact that there's literally hundreds of thousands of people who do student loan servicing who are out of work because you just got all your loans forgiven. You understand what I'm saying?
Forget those
Right.
people.
Yeah, right. You're done. I don't care about you. I don't care about your lawyers, your marketing, or the people, the real estate companies who receive rent from those guys.
The fact that they let me stay at this school for 4 years and didn't kick me out when I wasn't paying.
Right. I get it. I'm still carrying the same exact student loan debt I was 10 years ago because I handled myself irresponsibly. I'm just now making progress, right? But I've owed the same dollar amount for a long time. This would be a great boon to me, but I'm not asking for it. I'm not sure I wouldn't take it. Just don't put it on the notes.
Woo! I'm just not expecting
I'm
it.
just,
So
but-
we should be fine.
But that's the thing is, like, if you look at the world and your expectations are one, entirely focused on yourself. I expect my job to be here tomorrow. Now I'm planning for it. I'm living as if it will be, but like, I'm not sure that I have any grounds like to expect that my job will be there tomorrow. Like, my company could reasonably go, you know what? We don't need this service anymore.
I find this discussion very convicting. I feel like I do this on multiple levels, multiple times a day. And I'd like to think I'm a better man than I am, but I'm not.
No.
Oh, we're all selfish.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I mean, we just are.
I mean, and here's the thing.
He's mostly selfish.
I
Yeah.
was going to say,
Especially opinions.
What?
I mean, at the end of the day, if you were to look back on these are the things that the Lord has listened to me whine for years.
Right.
Of the things at night as I pray, and He goes, "Boy, I can't wait till you're about 38, and then you review your day and realize how much of a self-centered boobathon you are." And then,
Hold up, was that Boobathon?
No, it was boobathon,
Okay.
but boobathon is fitting as well.
yeah, that works. I like
Yeah.
that better.
Yeah, a 3-tier booba, sure, whatever floats your boat.
Gee, Moses.
Anyway, it's hard to take in to realize that you're so self-centered. Like, where you think, like, especially you'll get times in your life where you think you're making progress. I'm not sinning a ton. I'm not as bad as I used to be. Right? I feel like I'm not down on my knees decrying every decision I ever made. I can get through most days without committing any major, infractions. I still will do an occasional thing that I'm embarrassed of, and me and God are working on that. We're in our working stage where we'll progress through things. I don't hide from them anymore, but we're just working on it, And only to realize that, like, you've completely blinded yourself to the log of crappiness that it's a completely self-centered. If I was to be in the same situation as Buva, I would be a wreck. I would be an absolute wreck, right? Like, I have a household that I run, and if my job was to the point where I couldn't work because I wasn't listed as an essential dude or whatever, I would be absolutely a mess.
So, but you've been there though. Like, remember, like, you got there was like a big string of layoffs in the construction industry.
Oh yeah, it happened.
Like, yeah, you've been there.
Well, I suppose I wasn't that big of a mess, but like, I didn't have any kids at the time. Well, I did have kids. Yeah, no, I had both kids. Holy cow. Okay, I made it through.
You had both kids.
Yeah.
And figured it out.
Yeah, it was fine. I wanted out of it. I wasn't.
Right.
I didn't think it was the best. Like, that's the thing, and like, that's a reasonable perspective, right? This isn't the best.
This is not what I would choose.
I mean, it's not like I put a sword on the wall and see how many times I can run into it. You know what I'm saying? I don't love it here.
Glad you didn't do that.
But at the end of the day, my perspective was I knew this was a possibility. I've taken a bunch of steps to make sure it never happens again.
Mm-hmm.
And if it happens again, I think maybe that's the thing, is I knew it was possible when it happened to me, say, circa 10 years ago. I knew it was in the cards. If it were to happen to me because of a thing that I can't control, say a pandemic / nobody can go to work deal, and I had to start watching my house payment be in trouble and us not have food, yeah, I'd be in the same straits as everybody else. I don't know that I would take it in as much, humor and comedy as I am right now. It'd probably be weighing a little bit heavier on me. It's not, and so I can't feign it. I'm not gonna fake it like it is, but like I could definitely see perspectives coming from that way. But they would all be expectations that were unrealistic.
Well, right. I mean, I think that goes to Buva's point, right? Is that like it's a refining, right? Like we should at least our best to fight for the right balance. And I do mean it's a fight. This is not just something that you're gonna like. There's a reason that the Psalms are what they are. That the Bible needs to remind you of these things, right? Because you are fighting a very human perspective. But like when the sun sets, what we expect from life should align with what otherwise Yahweh promises from life. Everything outside of that point, like if our bundle of worry is on things that otherwise aren't part of that package, like it might be all right to let them go. It might be all right to say, look, I this is too big for me. Like that's actually one of the things that God continues to work in my life is the bucket of things that I think are my responsibility, as opposed to saying, God, this is too big. This is too big. We talked recently about the feeding of the 5,000, right? Like the disciples had just come back. At least in the way that Luke tells this, the disciples had just come back from having healed and brought the message of the kingdom. Okay, in Luke 9. So they're out and they share the message, and they've been able to heal people. Jesus said, "Go out and do this," and they did it. And they come back, and so they know that God will support them with the work that he's told them to do. So they go out, and 5,000 at least men, maybe more, women and children, follow them out there. And Jesus goes and talks to them, and they stay out late. And the disciple goes, "Hey man, you got to let them out of here because they're going to get hungry and they need a place to stay." And Jesus looks at them and goes, "You feed them." Right? A task that they have been given, and their first reaction was, "We can't. We got 5 loaves, 2 fish. We can't do it." What was their first reaction supposed to be?
Yes, Lord.
God, what are we going to do to feed them?
Ah, yes, right. Like the punt is to say, when you're faced with a problem that only God can solve, the first thing you do is to enact God, is to reach out to Him. Like the worst thing you can possibly do is go, boy, 5,000 people need fed. All we got is 5 loaves and 2 fish. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Yes, you've just taken on a bucket worry that will never resolve itself because it is a situation that is bigger than you. I will submit to you, this pandemic is bigger than you. I will probably submit to some situations that your ability to find a job might be bigger than you. Mm-hmm. Not all of you. Some of you might, like I remember, Mike, again, it's a slightly different situation, but Mike got laid off. Like, I remember you were like knocking on doors trying to find people who you can do electrical work for.
I took on 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I wasn't qualified for none of them.
Yeah. So, sometimes there's options. For a lot of them, there aren't. Like, where you normally pick up jobs at restaurants and car washes and stuff, like, it ain't there. So, like, some of that's bigger than you. Then it's not yours to carry. Like, we got to recognize the human level stuff, our faithfulness is only faithfulness to what God has called us to do. Most of the time, they're God level problems. If I want someone to know Jesus, I have to stop thinking, Lord, how will I do it? How will I talk to them? What will I say? How will I set this thing up so that they will be convinced? What video should I send them, right?
What a sweet invitation with God, though. What are we going to do?
Yeah, that's the right reaction.
Right? We're in this together. I'm waiting for your lead on this one.
Yeah.
But like, what are we going to do? Tell me, help me understand what we're going to do.
So I think that it's important for us to recognize that, and you guys already kind of said this, there's absolutely people that the anxiety and the fear of stuff comes from either chemical imbalances or just straight trauma, like people that did not have the opportunity to develop that kind of self-actualization in any of this, and their upbringing, their childhood, their past things that have happened to them kind of make it impossible for them to work through that stuff. We recognize that, and that's a whole different story. But I think a takeaway from this is, especially if you're someone that calls Christ your King, is recognize that anxiety and these worries and things like that are not for you. They're just not. We recognize that the worries that we have, the anxiety that exists, these debilitating thought processes that make it seem like this is an unimaginable amount of things that we can't get through, right? Those are all completely dissolved in a trusting and faithful relationship with your God. Understanding that God is in control and strong enough to fix all of this and loves you enough to do so. Now, again, about expectations, it may not be the way that you anticipate that it's going to work.
Almost never is.
Exactly. It almost never is. If you're hearing what I'm saying right now and you're thinking, oh, yes, I'm emboldened because God's going to give me this amazing job and I'm going to keep my house or I'm going to keep all this stuff. Nothing's going to change and he's going to save me and keep me comfortable. You are hearing me incorrectly. God does not promise you any of that. What he does, though, is he will take care of you how he sees fit. And your job is to follow after him and strive to be in step with him, understanding that his will is the best that it could possibly be for you. And so if he's going to take care of you, allow him to do it the way that he is going to. Destroy your expectations, destroy your thought processes of what is good, what is just, what is right, because you are none of those things and therefore can't have that correctly in scope. Trust him to cover you and to take care of you. You may lose things in the process. Okay. All you need is him. That's what you hold on to. You recognize that you can only be identified in your relationship with him and doing his will for his kingdom that you are blessed enough to be a part of.
And I think that thought process ties into what we were talking about just a little bit earlier, which is outside influences. Even if you can get that right in your head, there will be a constant pressure for people trying to get you to worry about stuff.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, just find a simple praise for it. Hey, the news says, hey, you should worry. And you're like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. Hey,
I'll stop spraying hairspray into the air. But other than that, I'm not going down every night worrying about global warming.
Right. That's the thing is that there's just a constant, and this isn't blindness. It's not ignorance into the world. It just says, hey, I'm an outside influence. I want you to take on a weight that it doesn't belong to you. It's the hardest. It gets easier. It gets easier over time. You just got to practice it. Hey, you should worry about this. I don't want to. Hey, but this thing's going on, and maybe this. Hey, we think the stock market's going to crash in 30 days. I don't want to worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Tell me what happened in 30 days, and I'll say whether you're right or not.
Seems like it's out of my control.
It'll be a great day.
Actually, it's weird. It happened in micro ways as I've been doing kind of that small amount of investing. I'll read an article and be like, hey, this dude thinks the stock market's gonna crash, and I thought, I don't know if I think that. And some guy said, hey, it's gonna go up this much. I'm like, I don't know if I think that either. But it's just I don't have to be. Think of who we've talked about this a lot, but think about who you're giving access to change your life.
Right.
Who are you giving permission to say you should start worrying about this? I remember it made me think of some explanations Boova's given him about people giving him relationship advice in his life, and you're like, boy, I've just hey, I want to give you advice. No, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm listening.
I don't think I'm going to take that.
There's literally nothing that shows your life as a good example to go off of for me to listen to your relationship advice. So I'm good.
I'm gonna skip, and so that's the thing. It's okay. I'm good, bro. I don't need it. I'm not going to take that in. And think of the news as a friendly guy you saw on the street. Hey, you should pay attention to this. No, not going to do it.
Here's the deal. Put your worry through the filter of what would God's reaction to that be. Just seriously, I know that seems ridiculous at a certain level, but
that is awesome.
Somebody tells me, hey man, do you realize what's going on right now? There's 15 new cases in Iowa. You should be worried. Hey, God, creator of the entire universe, that has not left control in any situation ever, has seen all of this from beginning to end and knows all of it, and still proclaims that he's victorious. Am I worried about this? No, you're good. Okay, cool. Thanks, God. Appreciate that.
God, the market's going to crash.
Exactly.
I'm in municipal bonds.
I hold blue chips.
God,
I'm not worried about this.
I'm really worried about my sense of security within my income. Is that something I should worry about? Hey, I have control of all money and things ever, right? Yeah. Right. Hey, you know how I love you and I'm your father and I'm going to take care of you? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. Remember how I said
Thanks,
the mountains
Dad.
come down to flat land and the curvy road gets straight on? right? This is what I do. These are the things I'm concerned with. You still have to walk the path, but I'm certainly not going to add mountains in.
Right.
That's exactly what we're talking
Yes.
about. People trying to get you all fired up about things that you can't do nothing about.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you put another mountain in your way? That way you can walk over the top of it and be worried about it the whole time. No.
Just read the end of Job every
I
time
don't
you want
wanna
to
do
figure
that.
this out. Just be reminded of who God is as he calls himself, just straight up chastising
It's funny.
Job.
So I was just thinking about Job while we were talking about this, and if he had the reactions that we are prescribing, it would be super weird. Like, Job, all your animals have been killed. Good, one less animal to feed. Good. This is fine. All right. Hey, Job, all your children have died. Well, that's kind of disappointing, but, I expected them to live, so that's my fault. Right? That seems odd. And so, like, the things that you're saying, like, you can't be taken in a black and white context, right?
Right.
Because that's not what we're talking about. But I think if you use Job as the example, right? Like, when Job is breaking down, it's like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be on this planet and have to deal with the boils and everything that I've lost, whatever. And like, I used to think, Job, you're breaking, you're cracking, buddy. You were so soft, and I'm like, who do I think I am?
Right,
I would
exactly.
have broke after the animals died. I would have been done.
I would
Where's
have
this
lost
crazy lightning coming from?
I would have lost one camel and been like, man,
Yeah.
this is awful.
This is just I cannot take anymore, And so like
man.
I think at the end of the day, like, there is so much legit stuff, heartbreaking, weighty things to worry about. Stuff that is well worth your time to worry about.
That's right.
People, your relationship with families, your relationship with their relationship with God. And when I'm talking about you worried about it, I'm talking about you praying about it.
Right.
Not talking about you sitting in a room, fetal rocking, crying, trying to scheme up a plan on how you're going to pamphlet them to Jesus, or like browbeat them, or yell at them, or encourage them into Jesus. Like, that's not, if God has that designed that way, then great. Then you and him will do that together. If he does not, then it is not meant for you to wallow and sit in your despair. That is not what you're built for. And you are doing two things there at once. You are wasting the time that God's given you, and you're also trying to take his throne away from him. It's his to handle, and you're stealing it and trying to put one cheek on the throne while he's turning the other direction. Be like, I will handle the salvation of other people. You won't. You will do what God asks you to do.
Uh-huh.
God has a heart and a desire for the people around you, the people around him, the people that aren't around him, to know him. And if you submit yourself to the things that he's doing, man, you are going to get involved in some cool stuff. If you try to submit God to the things that you're doing, you are going to be mightily disappointed.
Even with you, we were talking about that example about people not putting mountains in your way. Like, it's even that, like, you have I think, go back to your expectations. I expected there to be no mountains. Like, I'm not confident that God, like, I'm pretty confident that, like, you show up and, like, you find this unexpected thing, and Yahweh goes, yeah, man, I knew that was gonna be there. Go ahead. like, yeah, but there's a mountain. I'm aware. I scaled a lot of them and gave out law. Like, what? I mean,
Tell me that's not something you would like to, like a cooler version of yourself that walks up out of the car, and then all of a sudden there's a giant mountain in front of you, and without any shock or surprise, you go, looks like a mountain climbing today.
Yeah.
And here we go. Right? You're not shaken or stirred. You're not downtrodden or defeated. You're like, well, all right, here we go.
yeah. Hey, I got up this morning like, oh, we're out of oats, man. I was planning on breakfast. No oats. Well, I mean, what am I gonna do?
Looks like omelet day.
Look, yeah, or nothing,
Or nothing.
Like, I mean,
I'm good.
That's the thing, because, like, again, my core didn't change. The core of who I am, what I believe, what
Right.
I'm capable of doing, didn't alter. And so the thing I couldn't control was that there's a mountain right in front of me. Right? Like, I can't do anything about that. That's out of my realm. So it's like, I can pray it. I can say, God, move the mountain if you will. Or give me the strength to climb it.
Yep.
Or-
Bend mountain stays.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
good. God, can I have the strength to climb it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Heading up.
Granted.
Right, because, like, that's the thing, is that, like, for all the accepting of the world, it's so weird. We are easily sheeped into things where we just accept the world around us and we go. Except for there's a whole bucket of reactions that refuses to accept the world around us and wants to fight it in our own mind. Like, we're gonna battle it in there. Like, we're gonna say, look, if I just hold tight and worry about it, it will be different, as opposed to saying, well, I mean, what am I going to, like, I can't, if I need to go in the Menards and they require the mask, like, I mean, I can stomp and throw a fit and go to Lowe's, but I don't know if I want to go to Lowe's. I'll just give them the $1. Dude. All right. And so in that wrong rambling conversation, Booba, you had something. Did we touch on it, or, like, what
Oh,
else?
no.
Okay. All right, hit me up with it.
Of course not. So I suppose I'm going to say this story with as much anonymity as I can, because it's not meant to be hurtful to anybody. It's just where I'm at, right? And so last week I kind of talked about the Lord had kept bringing up opportunities for me to pray for my enemies, right? And I'd prayed for a couple people, and it was weird that, like, I'd never really had that before. And then randomly it starts ramping up over a couple weeks that I need to start really praying for enemies. And like things keep getting brought up in my life that are people that are hurting people. And like my pre-Jesus Buva thought process, and it's more psychological than anything, is, oh man, I want to beat up people that hurt other people. I get all big machismo about it, right? But like in the last couple of weeks, I've fought through that and kind of eliminated my pride in those moments and eliminated my brain in that, and just thought to myself, I really need to take a step back and recognize that there's nothing I can do against this person, nor should I want to. And what I really should be doing is praying for them to find Christ, because that is the ultimate retribution in this story. That is the ultimate fix in this story, is if these people that are hurting people are hurting themselves, whatever kind of situation you're talking about, finding Christ for them is an amazing end to that story. And it's something that he can take and make so powerful for his kingdom. And I love that thought process. And so that happened a couple times in the last couple weeks where I'm just like, I got to take a step back because I'm hearing these stories about awful things. Let's just pray. Let's pray about this. And my fiance is usually the one who I'm doing this with. We'll be on the phone and we'll just be like, hey, this crappy, crazy thing is happening. Let's take a step back and let's pray for that person. Let's pray for them to find Jesus truthfully and realistically in their life, in a way that the Holy Spirit comes and takes a hold of their heart and changes them. Sanctification completely, all kinds of stuff, right? And so that was interesting, and I commented last week and I said it's gearing up for something, because like I feel like when God gives me these kind of things that are opportunities for me to grow, it's usually like a training ground or a proving ground that's like, hey, take the time now to get good at this, because something big's about to hit. Something big's about to hurt, right? And so praying for enemies the last couple of weeks, trying to figure out where that was going to end. And this weekend hit like a train. I had a family member that hurt me pretty bad. I'd probably say the worst that's ever happened to me in my life. I'm not going to go super far into detail because the kingdom stuff is not really in the detail of the hurt. But just for a little context, I was told that I was the reason my parents are dead. That because I was fat and lazy and was worrisome, I'm the reason that my mom and dad died, because they didn't either want to stay around for me because I wasn't worth it, or I caused them so much stress that they ended up dying. Okay, so that was one of the big things. I was also told to go kill myself in a couple different violent ways, and that the world would be better off without me. And that people would be better off without me, whatever, right? And so that hurt quite a bit, actually. I told you guys earlier that, like, this has been a super traumatic experience for me over the last couple months, because, like, my network has been kind of shut down, and, like, my way of communicating with people has been kind of halted, and so it hit hard. It hit really hard. And I'm sitting there and I'm in tears. I'm like hyperventilating, crying so hard because like it hurt my feelings. Like it hurt my heart. And then I get in my car and I drive away and I'm thinking stupid stuff, but I didn't. What I ended up doing was I called my fiance. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning for her. And I called her crying my eyes out, barely able to get a sentence out. And I just said, I told her the whole story and said, I think it's a good idea if we pray. And she goes, absolutely. And I'm like, can I pray? And she goes, yeah, and I'll pray too. And I said, great, sounds good, baby, awesome. And my brain immediately goes to, okay, I'm going to pray for peace for me in this situation, all this different stuff, and I'm going to pray for God to kind of just comfort my heart and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but then it hits me, I'm just like, I need to pray for my family member, because what just happened was evil. Like it just straight up was. Whether that's manifested through trauma or through hurt or through anxiety or through drugs or through alcohol or whatever, there is evil present that cannot stand, and it has to go. And so instead of this Lord comfort me prayer, I went on the offensive. Like I went straight on the offensive for the kingdom. And it was so weird for me because like the first couple of minutes didn't even feel like my words, if you've ever felt that way in a prayer. But like it was just kind of just pouring out of me. And I was just sitting there. I'm just like, what does this life look like transformed in Christ? What does it look like for this person if God can take this hurt and this pain and this trauma and all these things and flip it around and heal it, take care of it, and flip it for his glory, 100% for his glory. And that's what I started praying. I'm like, God, I just want you to be glorified through this situation, through this pain, through healing of that. There is joy on the other side of this when we recognize that even all this junk and all this sin and all this hurt and pain and stabbing feelings, all of this can be flipped to be for your good because you can heal it. You are strong enough to cover it. This is not scary to you. You are not intimidated by the amount of pain here. This is the kind of situation that only you can heal. Only you have the power to hold and to break this. And I'm praying for 30 minutes straight that I'm just like, I'm pouring my heart onto this and I'm bawling my eyes out and I can barely see, barely speak. I'm like hyperventilating through this and it was crazy. But by the end of it, my identity wasn't hurt. It just wasn't. I didn't need these long prayers of God cover my heart, God cover my peace and comfort me. I didn't need that in that moment because my identity was rooted well enough to where instead of having to do this wallowing thing where I was like, oh Lord, please just cover me and help me. This is hurtful, blah, blah, blah. I went on the offensive and I was like, no, I need to pray for that person and recognize that they're hurting and they're in pain and you are the only one that fixes this. And it was such a weird thing for me because 6 months ago, I couldn't have done that. I could not have done a month ago, I probably would have had difficulty doing that. A month ago, I would have been in a rough spot and I probably wouldn't have called my fiance. A year ago, I probably wouldn't have talked to anyone for 3 weeks. And that's just truth and honesty. I would have shut down and run away from that and tried to fix it myself. And instead, I was able to remind myself, there's a couple minutes where it was rough, but pretty quickly, I was able to remind myself of what my identity is and the fact that I don't have to worry about what other people say because God's got me. He calls me his son, and he calls me worthy through the sacrifice that his son made on the cross. I'm covered through sin and through the sacrifice of the lamb. I've covered completely through his love for me. How dare anyone else try to come to me and try and berate and belittle me for who I am when God, the creator of this entire universe and our rock, Lord Almighty, looks at me and goes, I love you, and you're my son, and you have identity in that.
You identified the correct victim.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that I was able to look at that and go, all right, God, you got me. I'm not worried about me. I need to think about this person. And while it's fresh, I'm going on the offensive. I'm attacking. I'm using what I know that God gives me power through him to be able to do so. And I'm straight up rebuking this stuff. You know what? If this is, I try not to call upon this, especially not on the show too much, but I'm like, if this is demon stuff, in the name of Jesus, you're gone. You do not have power here. You do not have control here. You tremble at that name because you cannot stand in the glory of my King. Okay? And if it's just people being people and there's some evil in that, even so, you do not stand in the power and glory of my God. You are gone. You are out of here. And I call you out and I say, you got to leave. And I'm just praying for my family member. And it was such a weird experience. And it just made me, afterwards, it was a rough night still. It didn't fix it. And I'm not trying to advocate that just pray about it and then everything will go away, because I think that's kind of cheap and disingenuous. It still hurt and it still sucked, but I'm okay. It's a day and a half later and I'm sitting here at the show laughing. And I think the guys that have been doing this show for a long time can remember if I got hurt like that before, I was gone for a year. I wouldn't show up again, and I'd show back up 100 pounds heavier and not having talked to anybody for months because I hated myself and all this different stuff. But I'm good. I'm okay. I spent the day today praying for him. And I talked to my fiance. We're going to continually pray for that. And we're trying to figure out ways to fix this kind of thing because I recognize that there's hurt there and there's pain there. And there's an opportunity for God to show who he is through that situation. And I told Gian on the phone, I was like, what an amazing testimony this will be when God redeems him. What an amazing story this will be in his life when God grabs all of this, tramples the sin, tramples the pain and the hurt, and wraps him in nothing but comfort and joy and truth. Because that's what this stems from, is untrue things and lies. It is lies about who he is. It is lies about his worth. It is lies about who cares about him and who's abandoned him. It's all lies. God is truth incarnate. He brings that in entirety because that battles that kind of stuff. And I've been praying for nothing but truth to be abounding in his life, because that's where God shines. And I think it's going to be such an amazing story when God grabs his heart, pulls him towards the kingdom, and then he can turn around and go to other people that are festering with lies and festering with pain. And he can look at them and go, I was exactly where you were. I have been destructive. I have been hurt. I have hurt people. And God grabbed me, completely reformed my heart, pulled me towards him, and now I follow the one true King, and I will constantly speak of his name and his glory forever. And I'm so excited to see that day where I get to walk with him in that. And it's been crazy. And it's been a friggin' amazing couple of days because of the fact that I have hope in that. And there's hope in that grace, and there's hope in that mercy, and there's hope in that truth, that I recognize that God is a God of peace, and it is perfectly able to be taken care of, and God is strong enough to do it.
Boy, I mean, here's the thing: is like, it's crazy to watch God prepare you for something, and to watch it pay off, and like it seems like when we talk about it, with the risk he runs, it seems like an easy road. Oh, God won't give you more than you can handle, or if he does, he will be there to help you. And even if that's true, right, that he will be, like we talked about that earlier, right? God-sized things. You got to kick them up to God. They're God's to handle. They can't be yours. It doesn't mean that like there isn't a human interaction with a fallen world, with painful circumstances, with the notion of evil, and that God wants that confronted. And he wants you as his representative on earth to confront it, but to do that in a way that otherwise, like, calls back to where the true power is. And like, it's cool to see it, and it's a real blessing to recognize it, right? Because like you could easily have gone through that situation and not. In fact, people probably have gone through situations like that, and like they didn't recognize the real power in being able to turn and pray that your enemies would be blessed, and to pray that God's mercy and forgiveness would be a gift that they would recognize and accept wholly. And so it's hard to see it in the moment, but to even have people who would treat someone that way, to recognize the blessing that exists for their redemption, it's a changed heart. It takes a changed heart to see it. It takes a changed heart to recognize it for a blessing, and it's very human to miss it, and it's very gracious of God to provide it so that you don't miss it. And so I think that's there's kind of a triple blessing in there from a situation of which there is no sense of joy in at all, right? In which seems very dark, and had the impact of being very rough. There's actually a lot of good in there, and God has allowed you to see it, and I think that's great. That's very cool. All right. Hey, maybe we don't we generally have you use the complaint line to vote on bacon and stuff. But like if you've had a story like that, like it'd be so cool. Like we talked about, it's just God's people can be encouraged by hearing what God is doing in his people. So if maybe that's something you'd be willing to share, we would love to be able to hear it. The Live from Path, Bob Eisenhower Live from Path complaint line is 515-517-0085, and you can call and leave a message, or we can accept text. So either one, 515-517-0085. Hey, also, I mean, if this is more your style and you want to hit us with a DM on Instagram or something, we can at least be praying with you, praying for that person that you're praying for. We'd love to be able to join you in that.
You can also get us on Venmo at Mike Foost, LFTP, Venmo.com, or any other ways. I accept PayPal directly.
We'll actually be holding our first annual Boovathon here soon. Also, if you want to call in, Mike will be answering those calls exclusively.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that's a great idea. I'm going to put a donate now button on the website.
How do you get a Venmo handle?
You
just sign up for Venmo.
Yeah.
You think Mike Foose is already taken?
Yeah.
Every time I've tried to get an email, that Mike Foose from Wisconsin that works at the dump has taken everything.
That's why I love my name. I've never run into any situation where my name was already taken.
Hey, this is my favorite thing we ever did in youth group. We got to wrap this show up. This is barn burner. But like the favorite thing I ever did, I was trying to say like what defines a person is not what they look like or their name even, but like what their story is, right? When Yahweh is trying to introduce himself as God to the people of Israel, is like that's why he said I'm the God of Israel. Like when he introduced himself, he said I'm the God of your fathers, I'm the whatever. Like because the name doesn't matter as much as the story that comes with it. And so like I found 3 Mike Foose on social media. There was me, German Mike Foose, who, man, he was just mad at the world. He hated everybody. And then the Wisconsin Mike Foose, who's taking all my email addresses. And like, man, the kids just they took the picture of German Mike Foose and carried it around with them for a year and a half. Every time I'd come to youth group, they'd bust out German Mike Foose and they would use him to disapprove of something I've said. German Mike Foose hates that. And then they'd show this picture of this angry Mike Foose from Germany.
That's amazing.
It's the last time I did interactive stuff at youth group because they turned it against me real fast.
Yeah, I got added to a Facebook group once. So my real last name is Engeldinger, not Buva. And I got added to.
People call you Buva?
What?
Did you say your real last name is Engeldinger, not Buva?
Yes.
What's your first name?
John.
Oh yeah, okay, right. Okay, go ahead.
That's
Sorry.
right. Yes.
Continue.
And so I got added to a Facebook group probably, 10 years ago. There was a bunch of German people with the last name Engeldinger, and it was hosted by this gal named Natalie. She was Natalie Engeldinger, and she was a German fashion designer. And so I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, whatever. And so she invited me to a show once. Like she was like, you should come out to Berlin to one of my shows. And I'm just like, cool, I'm 19 and broke, but whatever, we'll figure it out. I'll fly to Germany and make this work. And so she sent me this link to go and like buy tickets to it, right? And it turns out that she was she was a fashion designer for like S&M.
Oh.
And I was way too young to have any idea what that stuff was. And so like I'm like, cool, what's this? And I start scrolling through like the collection that she was like putting out, and I'm like, immediately, nope, this is not for me, Natalie. Yeah. I don't think I'm in the right place. And I exit out of it. And I never talk to her again because I'm just like, I don't really know how to go from here, and I don't know if I want to. So I'm just gonna leave.
The Engeldingers are a salty bunch.
Yeah,
apparently so. In Berlin, it's just a crazy bunch. That's how it happens. It cracked me up, and we had probably like 4 interactions in conversation to where like she had messaged me something all in German. I took it and translated it through Google Translate, and then I did the same thing in English and sent it to her, and she did it too. And it was like 4 blurbs of communication, and then it was the invite. And then after that, I'm just like, I don't think I'm going to continue this this online relationship with my long lost 7th cousin, twice removed, Natalie.
Nope, gotta go. All right, Mike, we got a bucket of advice. We got time for one.
No,
you don't have one.
No, you got to wrap this. I'm telling you, Ben, it's a barn burner. You got to wrap this thing up.
Does that mean it's long?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, barns that burn for a long time.
I wasn't ready.
I thought that might be what it was, but I wasn't 100% certain.
Yeah,
if that's
if
what
you
meant
said-
by
I
that.
thought you were saying like it's really good.
No,
I also thought maybe it's the
This is
connotation
too
of it's a
long.
good show.
Nope. I'm getting the itchies sitting over here. I feel like I've been here like 6 hours.
I'm
I don't
sorry,
know.
you were the one who's yelling at me about hygiene an hour ago, and now you're getting the itchies sitting in a stool?
Yeah, I've just tell you, I'm getting full of the wiggles. I can't sit in this chair no more. I don't know. We got to go. Opinion, what do you think?
You're a father.
Time to go. Yeah, he says time to go. He's tired of
Freaking
this.
ridiculous. Ben, are you any closer to being ready?
No, I thought I had a full advice
Did
thing.
you look at the clock? Look at that, Ben. What's that say?
Time means nothing to
An
me.
hour and a half.
When I speak of
An
the
hour
Lord,
and a half. We talked about COVID for an hour and a half.
I picked up a mask today.
Now, here's the deal.
No, see, Boom is going to get on a tear again, and we're going to be here for an hour and 45 minutes.
You have been a part of me doing sermons and stuff. You know time means nothing to me
No,
when the
that's
Lord is on the table.
No, that's true.
All right, fine. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. That's you were listening to Live from the Path. You hit us up on the Bob Eisenhower complaint line. 515.
Sweet Moses. Hit us up on the
You don't know how much I use that time of the advice to try to prepare my mind for leaving the show.
The Bob Eisenhower Live from the Path complaint line is 515-517-0085.
That's right. Hey, and also feel free to leave a review of the show. Just be honest. I can't make you give it the 5 stars. Give it a 2 or whatever you like. 515-517-0085 for the complaint line, and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app as a warning to those who might otherwise click on the link.
Hit us up on Instagram.
Do that. All right. In the meantime, be faithful means God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.